Okay, so we're talking with Wade Hendricks today. Wade is with Apex Outdoor Rewards. You know, when I first found out about what you guys are doing, Wade, it kind of, I'm going to just tell you honestly, to me, it was like, okay, this is like a big buck competition, but on a more national scale. But then when I started looking into it a little bit more, I realized it's not exactly that, but you're going to have to explain to the audience because I think that connotation might be there. It's like, oh, this is just a big buck competition. And so tell us, I guess, tell the listeners, viewers, and by the way, if you guys are listening to this, you can watch it, and if you're watching it, you can listen to it. I'm not going to list all the platforms. It's everywhere, anywhere you can find a podcast for Deer Talk Now. But Apex Outdoor Rewards, what exactly do you guys have going on here?
Well, first off, I'll back up just a little bit on that and give some preface as to the whole concept, okay? There's a little bit of background with me in the professional fishing industry. That set the stage for wanting to be rewarded for commitment to the outdoors. And with my whitetail bug, being in the tree, spending so much time in the woods, and having time to think in the stand, it came to me, and enjoying to film my hunts at the same time, it just really came upon me that it would be wonderful if we had a platform in the whitetail industry that rewarded hunters for their commitment. Because for a lot of us, it's a lifestyle. It's just not going out into the woods for 1 or 2 days a week and hoping you come back with a trophy. And that lifestyle, I felt like, could have a big reward. So much goes into it. We all know there's just so many aspects that go into really the lifestyle itself, the pursuit of a trophy, the challenges that have to overcome. So that it all came down to rewarding the hunter. And with technology and the ability to bring that all into a platform where hunters could be rewarded, the whole concept really started to balloon into the idea that we can also reward conservation at the same time. So in some ways, I can see how people at a glance would say, oh, I don't want to, promote a competition per se. But really what we're trying to do is reward hunters for their commitment to the outdoors. Deer are going to be harvested no matter what, right, in every single state. We want to reward hunters that practice selective harvesting. Now, for a youth hunter, that's going to maybe be a 6-point deer, and for someone like us, it might be 170-inch deer, whatever it may be. But reward hunters for their discipline, their commitment, and their I guess vision to be involved with the platform and hopefully make a difference for conservation.
Which is pretty interesting. Now, when I look at it, I go to the website, I look at it. It's not too elaborate, but you're in like 8 states this year, I believe.
Correct.
You started off you started off a couple of years ago, but last year you had 2. You're in 8 states. I know you're in our home state of Wisconsin here, and what I didn't know is you're actually from Wisconsin originally.
Green Bay, yes.
Green Bay, which is just down the road from us here, it blew my mind. I'm like, I thought you're from Tennessee, but I see that you cap it at 1,500 participants.
Yes.
Why is that?
We want to create an environment in that state that hunters feel they have I guess it's obtainable. Okay, when we first started, it was like 10,000. Let's limit it to 10,000 because there's 1 million hunters in the state per se, or hundreds of thousands. Let's do it at 10,000. And after that, we said, let's make it more elite. Let's make it more specific to hunters and make it a sense of urgency as well, because we want people to be proud of being an apex hunter, not just an everyday type opportunity. And once they're a part of that group, they're proud to be a part of that group. And it like I said earlier, it's more obtainable as far as the rewards go. And as far as the amount of hunters that participate, right now, as we're getting the traction under our platform, is the best time for them to participate before the field fills up. Because how it'll work is, you mentioned we're in 8 states now. We're actually in 18 states, but we're active in 8 states at this point. The other remaining states, hunters can go to our web presence and reserve a spot in their state. And when that state reaches 500 reservations, it goes active. And if it does that before the season, that state will activate. If it's after the season or during the season, it's the following year that state will activate. They all have priority entry into that state. When they actually participate, they have priority every year into that particular state as well.
So if they pay and they're not active now, they'll be active once it becomes.
Yeah, because for reserving, there's no fee whatsoever. It's just putting their name on the list and saying, hey, we have 500 people in, let's say, the state of Kentucky that want to participate. Then the following season will be active there.
Okay, so it is interesting. I looked at the guidelines. If I'm just a single person want to do it, it's $275. If two guys, the buddies, want to do it, it's $425. You think, oh, man, that's a lot of money. You get a free digital camera. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you do have some regulations set up. It's like, okay, you pay your fee, you enter, you get this camera, you have to record your hunt.
Absolutely.
And then after you record your hunt, you have to measure your deer. Okay, so now the pessimist in me is like, oh, wait a second now. Okay, so now you guys are gathering all this video. I'm sure you're going to use it. You'll probably use it wherever, TV, on social media, or wherever, which is fine. But then, okay, now there's this scoring aspect. I know you send out these. Do we have one here?
Scoring tape.
These scoring tapes. How specific? I mean, do you review this after somebody? Like, I know how guys measure deer. They're measuring all the way to the bottom of the beam and everything. Yeah. Is there some kind of vetting process there? Or?
All great questions. So, absolutely, we absolutely require the validation of the harvest. Camera's the requirement there for a whitetail challenge. So there's many, positives that come with bringing that camera to the woods. Obviously, we're a big promoter of filming, just because once we introduce a hunter to filming, a lot of feedback that we're getting early on is, I wish I would have done this sooner. I just love being able to go back and look at my footage and see the deer, relive the moment, share with my family and friends. That's so rewarding to us. It makes me feel good just to talk about that. The other side of it is validation on both sides. The hunter is validating his harvest to make sure there is no funny business going on, and that protects all the other apex hunters as well. They're all, basically in the challenge to challenge themselves, both from a filming standpoint as well as a harvest standpoint. And so it has its major, functionality in that point. From a measuring standpoint, as you may have noticed on our website, we have a pretty, clear video as well as diagram on how, if you've never scored a deer before, per Boone and Crockett requirements, we have all of the information there for them to learn how and whatnot. And then, like you said, we supply the application tape, our Apex tape, that provides an accumulative score. So as you're putting it on, it's actually accumulating your score, and you don't necessarily need to know how to score other than to put your measurements into your provided digital score form, what goes where. That's where the knowledge really needs to come in, which is why we have the diagram and whatnot.
And if everybody thinks that, well, that's kind of splitting hairs, I mean, we're talking about some serious rewards here. I mean, like, the top prize is $20,000. Mm-hmm. And then it's what's kind of neat is, like, you've got actually categories like the best 10-pointer, the best 9-pointer, the best 8-pointer, the best 7-pointer, and all the way out to, you're gonna have to help me there, because I know the best 7-point, the best one's $2,000, but then you get all the way down to like the very bottom of the barrel. Some guy's gonna win $1,500.
Well, I think it's even more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know where maybe you've been looking at a different part of our website, but off the top of my head, I don't know either, because all of the payout rewards are based on participation. Now, if we had a full field of 1,500 hunters, which is the maximum amount of entries we can have, and I basically misspoke there. I said 1,500 hunters, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking 1,500 entries. In a lot of states, you can harvest 2 deer.
Yep.
And the multiple entry side of things really puts you as a hunter in a great place to have multiple opportunities to win. And our other seasons we've had hunters that have 1, 2, or 3 different reward opportunities, whether, like you said, if you have a 10-point, a 9-point, 8-point, or 7-point, your deer is automatically put into that particular category for a random draw on that particular side of things, in addition to your score.
Okay.
So that your one deer already qualifies for 2 categories.
Okay, which is cool. So obviously I can see where you're getting this idea from. You were a tournament bass fisherman.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that's kind of like, tell us about that a little bit, because I know you competed in some of these major tournaments.
Yes.
And that's kind of how you got the whole structure and system? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of things over the years that have transpired in the fishing industry as far as payout structure and that type of thing. Contingency programs and whatnot, which is another thing we want to introduce to our platform, where if you're a hunter and you're using a certain product, you can send in a photo with that harvest and you'd put into another category, for instance. Like if you used a certain trail camera or something like that and had a picture of your deer, now you qualify for another category where our partners would put up a purse for them. So there's a lot of different things that I'm acquired from experience in the fishing industry that I'm bringing over to the hunting world.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a break to thank one of our sponsors. Hit record and win rewards. Enter the Apex Whitetail Challenge in your state for your opportunity to win big cash. Enter today and get a 4K camera absolutely free. That is right, a $300 value camera absolutely free. Reserve your spot today at apexoutdoorrewards.com. So I want to tell you about this a little bit. If you enter the challenge, you get 1 whitetail entry for each challenge. You get a 4K digital camera free, a mounting bracket for the camera, 2 rolls of antler measuring tape, a 32 gigabyte SD card, a USB charging cable, and a 90-minute battery with wall charger. That's all included in this, and you have an opportunity to win big cash. Check it out again at apexoutdoorrewards.com. Now, one thing that, I look at this, and like I said, this is a skeptic in me. It's like, how in the world, this is just rife for deceit. Like, how are you going to keep guys out from going killing a deer in a high fence and entering it? How are you going to keep guys from lying about their score, or maybe sending you a video tape from last year or something? Or I don't know. It just seems like there's so many ways that guys are going to try to cheat this system to say, oh yeah, here I killed this huge 10-pointer, and it's like, no, put me in the top prize or whatever.
All great questions. And you can rest assured that we have spent hours and hours putting our platform together to basically take care of those types of items. First of all, I want to back up to where you said something about the score being accurate, that type of thing. So every score that gets submitted, one of the requirements is that they have to, with their camera, whether it be our camera or one that they like to use, I want to clarify that as well. Hunters can use the camera we provide them or any camera they're comfortable with. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
But part of the requirements is when they apply the measuring tape, they film the antlers with the tape on it so that we can clearly see how they measured that animal. So we have an Apex Marshal that any animal that is basically in a position for reward, that video footage is very well viewed and scrutinized, and we go through the whole thing. And in many cases, which I really love about our team, is that there's been situations where it hasn't been clear, right? So we have a production crew similar to you that can go in and enhance video, do whatever's necessary to give the hunter the benefit of the doubt that they did everything as correct as they could. To go after your question with the high fence, one of our rules is that they cannot be high fence. That's obviously in the rules. It also it says in there that if we do think there is anything remotely
here's
concerning,
a 300-inch buck. Yeah, I shot this on public land.
Polygraph is they're susceptible to polygraph as well. When it comes to some of these larger payouts, you always have to have. That's the same thing in the fishing industry.
Yep.
Any prize in the fishing industry is subject to polygraph.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, how many people do you have working for you?
We have a pretty good team. The Apex team is somewhat small, but we have big resources. We have a complete development crew. We have a complete production crew, 2 production teams, different remote companies that work for us. And in-house we have, well, myself, we're basically overwhelmed at this point. We're looking to expand in a lot of ways, and so we got our operations director and creative people and
I would think
editors.
you'd have to.
Yeah.
If you got 1,500 entries, I mean, theoretically,
Yeah.
coming in, you might have to.
We have a very sophisticated platform, Dan. A lot of work, like 2 years of development just in the platform to host and support something of this scale. So it does a lot of work internally for us that helps us lighten our manpower as well.
That's pretty amazing. Now, the one question I had written down for you, kind of almost answered it when we were talking off air here when we started, was, is this legal in every state?
As far as we understand, yeah, absolutely. It's no different than a fishing event. We're able to market the rewards aspect of your harvest, and Quest is one of our competitors out there that does it more for prizes. They're doing the same thing. So as far as the opportunity is out there for hunters, legalities, there's been no concerns there whatsoever.
And what's interesting about that, we talked about this. I checked into this. Okay, so coming from Wisconsin, we know that there's every bar, sports shop, they've got big buck boards. They've got, and we're going to talk about turkeys too. They have turkey boards. They got one right up here in Iola. There's turkey board. You have to pay, I don't know, $10, $20, and then you can get entered, and then you got to bring your turkey in and they weigh it or whatever. But one thing that I found interesting is some of these southern states. Okay, I found West Virginia was the biggest one. Governor Jim Justice, that was just this spring. He announced a big buck photo contest. And I said, oh, that's kind of cool. And mostly it was centered on kids and kids' deer harvests. But then I looked a little bit more into it. They've kind of got a similar thing where it's like, you enter your photo. Here's me with the deer I shot last year. And they've got like, okay, lifetime hunting license is the top prize. Second prize was like a weekend getaway at some cabin or something. And then Bass Pro gift cards, things like that. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And that was basically based off of wanting to increase participation. And then Mississippi Wildlife Federation, same thing. They've got kind of a similar situation. So let's talk about that for a minute. Have you seen... maybe not Apex, but is something like this, maybe even in the fishing industry, does this enhance participation in whether it be fishing or hunting?
I feel that when it comes to these big buck contests like this, one of the things that has also motivated this platform is that when you do small scale things, that's where you see some potential funny business. How do you validate anything at that point?
Right.
Which always circles us back to the camera. It doesn't matter how small it is. If it's a bar at $20 or whatever. Hey, you just don't know who's going to be motivated by that potential money compensation to do something unlawful. But so the camera takes all of that out. In regards to, somebody potentially trying to do something unlawful. Another thing is the metadata that we can track GPS-wise as far as where that deer was harvested, making sure it was within the boundary of that state. Like I said, technologically, we have about everything that you could consider.
I didn't even think of that.
Validate a harvest.
That's actually a very good point.
Absolutely.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Because that does bring up those things. Yeah, here I shot this in Wisconsin. Well, no, you shot it in. But having the documentation, I agree with your point before on, because I never saw it either. When we started our TV show 18 years ago, David. 18 years ago, I'm like, I don't want to be on TV. It's like I no. But then when these guys started, I'm like, all these deer I shot on camera, and I know they're not huge, but. I remember every single one of them, and it was because of that video camera. So that is a cool thing. That's a side note. Yeah. But it is neat that you can, you have to when there's rewards at stake. You have to do that. So that is making it a little bit more clear on,
No, it may not be for everyone, right? They just don't want to incorporate a camera into their arsenal and get involved with that. But I think there's where we are at in our society as well as our hunting world with technology. We're making advances year after year after year. We're making advances in technology in the outdoor world. This is just another level where hunters can be rewarded on another level, incorporating it into their arsenal.
What's the feedback you're hearing so far after a little bit over a year into this?
It's all been good. Our biggest goal is letting the hunters know they have this opportunity, which is where we're at now, market, and let them know that they have this opportunity. Most of the hunters, as you may have heard, we have ceremonies to reward the hunters, and I try to make a really big deal out of it.
That.
We want to bring notoriety to the hunters that support our mission, and so we like a big fishing event. Well, we have a big
but you're not taking the deer out of
that's right.
a water tub and like holding them up in the air.
But they bring in their antlers, and they're verified at our ceremony. So you mentioned earlier, how do we know the score, how accurate it is? Well, once we verify they've done everything correct, what really makes the top 10 interesting is where the major payouts are at, is they're brought in and we have official Boone and Crockett score there on location, and everyone's verified. Now you may have coming in 6th place, coming to the ceremony. You may have left in, let's say, 3rd place, because maybe it was a tight measuring race there, and after it was officially scored, because every harvest is pending until it is officially reviewed and officially scored then when it comes to our top payouts. And in those situations, you go from 6th to 3rd because now it's official. And then at that point, that's why the antlers have to be on location when we actually give away the rewards.
I did see that on your website on some of the listings. And for people who, you got to check out, what's the URL again?
Well, there's 2 of them right now based on the timing. As you mentioned earlier, we had some conversation before the program, and we're rebranding. Because one of the things we want to get into people's minds is that, the word competition, right? Yes, and technically it's a competition, but everything's a competition. I look at it this way from my perspective. I get up in the morning to go out after that trophy whitetail. It's a competition between me and him. It's a competition between me and Mother Nature. It's all the idea of perception. And so our new branding coming out for 2022 is Apex Outdoor Rewards.
Yes.
The goal is and the mission behind everything we do is reward the hunter, reward selective harvest, reward conservation.
Yeah.
And from a competition standpoint, that's in the eyes of whoever wants to participate.
So, yeah, and if you look at that, to Wade's point, there are some deer in there, like, I was looking at one of the lists, an inch separated. And they weren't like, some people get it in their head too. Okay, they watch too much TV and they're thinking, oh, I got to kill a 180. I was like, no, you don't. There's a 100-inch deer on here so the deer that you're going to kill anyways, you actually might place.
Absolutely.
And we see that. I'm not much of a fishing guy, but I see that with especially Brad's kids when they go fish in a tournament. They catch a couple walleyes and he goes, yeah, he won, Noah won $600. And he did? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, because only X amount of people participated, some people didn't catch anything. And it's the same thing here.
And I wanted to add, Dan, on the payout structure, that's what I think hunters really need to know about, is that not only do you have opportunity at the top 10, but then beyond that, there's random places on the payout structure. And I'll call it the reward structure of our platform, where 100th place might be, $5,000-$10,000, depending on the amount of participation. Wow. So it's just, there's random spots for just having a harvest and participating in our platform could win you some big rewards that can go towards, your next hunt lease, some more outdoor equipment, whatever it might be. And you never walk away with nothing, because having that camera with you, you always have a reward of being able to take those memories back to your family.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now, as far as the in-person events, how many of those do you have, or is that still in progress?
In-person events.
Like
you mean the venues?
Yeah, the venues, like where people are coming for the top prize.
Tennessee and Georgia were the 2 states that we were in last year before expanding this year into the additional 6 states that we're in. And so moving forward, if we were to be in 18 states, obviously we wouldn't have the time to be in 18 states. So we'll probably select and rotate around what states we actually have a ceremony in. And in those states where we don't have a ceremony, we'll be basically sending them the opportunity and providing them a Boone and Crockett marshal in their area to score their deer, to officialize everything, and then those values will come back into us to verify. And then on those cases that we don't have a ceremony in their state, we would be sending out them their outdoor rewards.
And how can people? Is there like a live leaderboards or something like that to see?
Another good question. So, coming from the fishing world, like I said, you don't know who's in what place until the end of the day, and all the weights are up to find out who's doing what, how well did I do, and that's one of those things that kind of makes it exciting, makes it something to look forward to. So our leaderboard is blind all season long. You don't know how this person did or that person did. There could be 500 entries in, but only 150 people harvest. You just don't know where. All the decisions and variables that take place in the season. Oh, this hunter over here is going to let that deer go because he's targeting a trophy animal or a better buck that he has on target. It didn't ever happen, so he ends up with nothing for the season. So the whole idea is that hunters can enter before the season as well as all through the season when they want to participate. There's no limitations there. It's just that they have to have their harvest submitted by midnight of the last day of their state deer hunting season. And then at that point, the submissions are cut off from our system. And then if starting the next day or 24 hours later, they could start purchasing for the next season if they want.
So they're not going to actually know where they stand until
the end of the season. They go live at midnight, the last day of that state deer season.
I'll be darned. Huh, that's cool.
Yep.
And then would I know, like, let's say I shot deer and entered it, would I know how many other people entered? And
Yep.
Okay, and who had what, and they scored
Absolutely.
what?
So that's the neat part of our leaderboard. Anyone that's harvested a deer and submitted it, you click on their name, you go in there, and it has all the requirement videos that you can view yourself.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's pretty
So
cool.
you can see what they harvested, their harvest shot, they're measuring their antlers.
Do you tell them where they shot it?
They have nothing like that, no.
Okay.
But what they do need to do is, say you're in your stand, we just need like a little pan around your stand of the hunt zone. So if there ever was a situation, some type of random discrepancy, we can go verify that, because we would do that in the interest of integrity of our challenge. If we have to go on site and do something to verify that harvest, we will do.
Dang, that is pretty in depth. And you mentioned, Boone and Crockett scoring. Have you had any talks or affiliations with any of the official scoring clubs?
We have, yeah. Boone and Crockett was one of them, in the sense that why we chose them. Boone and Crockett, they are not big advocates of competitions, bottom line.
Right.
We talked to them about it. But when we said, but this is recording it, they don't want to be influencing the idea of a poaching in any way.
Right.
Nor do any of us as ethical hunters. So when I spoke to them, they were, when I told them about our platform, like, no problem, absolutely. Really? The idea that you have to film the harvest and capture that and validate it in every way, it takes the whole idea of promoting poaching, no problem.
So, which also begs the question, I go out, film a kill, send it in, and the video is no good. You can't really tell. I mean, so you're probably like disqualifying some people?
Yes, we had to disqualify one last year, actually, and he just did not get the harvest. We could not make out that antler frame in the harvest photo to match it up with the recovery. Sorry. He was upset.
Yeah, obviously.
He was upset, but when it was all said and done, he understood. He's like, absolutely, I get it. You know, that type of thing.
So the guys that are doing, and gals that are doing this, you got to be got to have everything buttoned up. I mean, you got to make sure, like a lot of times too, we know filming, we have a deer come in, I still have plenty of legal shooting time, but you can't see it in the camera.
And depending whether they make that decision or not, we had a hunter from Georgia or Tennessee last year that harvest shot was completely black. We could not make it out at all. He was so, I guess, happy and to know that when we put it through our production department, we were able to enhance that in a way that we could verify that antler frame to the harvest.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, he wasn't even thinking that he was going to be able to.
So you helped him out in that case.
We'll give him every opportunity to verify that what they've submitted is can be validated.
That is pretty cool. Well, that is Apex Outdoor Competitions.
Apex Outdoor Rewards.
Outdoor Rewards.
Yes.
I wrote down both. I got that one wrong. Apex Outdoor Rewards. Please remember that.
Yeah.
Wade Hendricks, thank you for joining us on Deer
Thank you
Talk
for having
Now.
me. Yeah.
And where can people go to find out more?
They'll be able to go to either one of our URLs, but apexoutdoorrewards.com is going to get them there.
Actually, if you just Google Apex Outdoor Rewards, it'll take you there.
Yeah, exactly. And Apex, as you know, is one of these ironic a branding or name that has just kind of taken on in a lot of different parts of the outdoor industry lately. And it's one that in a lot of industries has used the word Apex.
Right.
And so the best results, if they go to Apex Outdoor Rewards, we'll pop right.
They're going to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us. And the neat thing here is you can read all about it, and you can enter at any time during the season. And just make sure you check out, like I said, do you know all the 8 states off the top of your head?
I do. I believe I do.
Okay, let's try it.
Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, New York, Illinois, Wisconsin, West Virginia. Is that how many you got there?
That's 7.
That's 7. And the 8th one would be... I did Tennessee already, right?
Okay, we're gonna just say you got 8.
Yeah, we got 8. That's why it's helped have my operations director around.
They're all listed there on the website,
Yeah,
and
right.
I might not have enough fingers on my hand to count there. Well, thanks for joining us, Wade. We're gonna check that out, and I want everybody. If anything, this camera is pretty cool. We're gonna call this one the Dan camera because I'm using that one this fall myself. All right, for Wade Hendricks, I'm Dan Schmidt. Thank you for joining us for Deer Talk Now. To watch all the Deer Talk Now podcasts on video, go to YouTube or our website. And, of course, to listen to them, your favorite podcast platforms. I'm not going to list them all. They're there. So check them out, and we will see you next time on Deer Talk Now. The Deer Talk Now podcast is brought to you by CuddyLink Cell Cameras. Up to 24 cameras, 1 cell plan, and as low as $10 per month. 10-point crossbows. The fastest crossbows in the world. Wildlife Research Center's Scent Killer Gold. Apply it, dry it, and go hunt. Full range hanging systems. The best way to display your shoulder mount trophies. Hunt Stand. The #1 hunting and land management app. The $1 Million Buck Bash by Apex Competitions. And Traditions Firearms. Feel the difference.